She's so fine. Hell of a hell of a blows my mind. Hell of a hell of a lights my day.
What's good, guys? It is around 9 p.m. on Wednesday, January the 25th, 2023. This video, of course, will be regarding the Shanquella Robinson case. And specifically, I wanted to kind of, educate, if you will, both myself and my subscribers regarding a few of the medical policies that exist in Mexico. And maybe this will give us all a greater understanding of, specifically looking at when this $5,000 was requested by the Cabo Six to Miss Salamandra Robinson. I've gotten a lot of questions about insurance, a lot of questions regarding this medical part. So I looked some information up, did some research, and I wanted to bring that information to the channel. Now, this information is coming from the U.S. Embassy and Consulates in Mexico website. It's a .gov website in a section titled Emergency Information for American Citizens and specifically medical resources. And it's dated April of last year. It's got a listing of the doctors and hospitals in Mexico for American citizens. And not every city, of course, is listed. The major cities are listed. And the cities in the state of Baja California Sur, it lists Tijuana. And it has a listing of medical providers. But I wanted to get into some of this wording. It says embassy responsibility. If an American citizen becomes seriously ill or injured abroad, as was the case in the Shanquella Robinson case, a U.S. consular officer can, it doesn't say have to, can assist in locating appropriate medical services and informing family or friends. If necessary, a consular officer can also assist in the transfer of funds from the U.S. However, payment of hospital and other expenses is the responsibility of the traveler. So it's saying, if you are a U.S. citizen and you are injured or become seriously ill abroad, the consular's office has an officer who can assist you in finding the appropriate medical care that you need. They will also let your family and friends know if you ask for their help. It goes on to say, be prepared to facilitate identification in case of an accident. Complete the information page on the inside of your passport, providing the name, address, and telephone number of someone to be contacted in an emergency. So that's one of those things that a lot of us just ignore until it becomes critical that information should have been filled out. Was that information filled out on Shanquella Robinson's passport? We don't know. But taking this case as an example, if you do travel abroad, please fill out that section on your passport, because this will become important should someone have to contact the consular's office on your behalf, because they can use that information to contact whoever you may deem necessary. Goes into the health insurance. It says, before going abroad, learn what medical services your health insurance will cover overseas. If your health insurance policy provides coverage outside of the U.S., remember to carry both your insurance policy identification card as well as proof of such insurance and a claim form. And then it goes into Medicare, and I'm not going to go into Medicare because that has nothing to do with this case at all. Now, there is a separate section that I showed you before that showed Tijuana and the hospital providers, etc. It says, in case of an emergency in Baja California or Baja California Sur, please dial 911. So, yes, they do dial 911 there in the state of Baja California Sur. It says the U.S. Consulate General in Tijuana, Mexico assumes no responsibility or liability for the professional ability or reputation of, or the quality of services provided by the following hospitals and clinics. Inclusion on this list is in no way an endorsement by the Department of State or the U.S. Consulate General in Tijuana. Names are listed alphabetically, and the order in which they appear has no other significance. The information on the list on professional credentials and areas of expertise are provided directly by the service providers. You may receive additional information by contacting those people on this list. Now, so in other words, they're saying, here are the listing of hospitals in this area and clinics in this area. We do not say anything one way or the other about these facilities. We are simply providing you a listing of them. They also have listed their phone numbers. And the American Medical Center is listed on this sheet. Let me find it here. Let's see, I probably already passed it. There it is. It says AMC Hospital. It's got their address and their telephone number. They are listed in the Cabo San Lucas area. All right. They also, on the consulate's website, provide a directory of ambulance companies in that area. And there is quite an extensive list of ambulance service providers in that area alone. They also have air ambulance there. And they note on here, it says medical evacuation by air. Air ambulances are very expensive. And that is a true story, quite the understatement. Air evacuation can be quite costly. Note, under no circumstances does the USG, U.S. Consular's Office, pay for the medical care or medical evacuation of U.S. civilians overseas. You will need to gather all relevant identity information, as well as the name of the Mexican physician on duty, the telephone number of the U.S. hospital's inter-hospital transfer coordinator, and the patient's insurance information. The air ambulance company should make and coordinate all the transportation information. They will need to confirm identity information for officials at the border. And then it gives you a list of contact information for specifically crossing the border. So the consulate's office has really got this very well organized in a packet, more or less. And then lastly, I wanted to share this information. It's from itravel-cabo.com. It says your ultimate guide to Los Cabos. Emergency medical care in Cabo. What happens in an emergency? An accident can happen anywhere. We often assume that because we have full health insurance coverage at home, that we will be protected when we travel. 9 times out of 10, this is not the case in Mexico. You need to understand how the medical system in Mexico works. What happens if you require emergency medical care? Will your insurance cover it? Which hospital should you go to? How will you get there? Let's find out. How the Mexican healthcare system works. The Mexican healthcare system only covers Mexican citizens and legal immigrants who are paying into the system. So if you are traveling to Mexico, you need full medical travel insurance. Without it, you could face huge bills, especially for emergency medical treatment. Existing U.S. healthcare plans. Now we know that Shanquella Robinson's parents both said that she had insurance. Don't assume that your existing U.S. healthcare plan will cover you in Mexico. Chances are it won't. But best check with your provider. You may be able to enhance your policy for a period of your travel. If not, you will have to buy an additional medical travel insurance policy. Paying up front. If you do need medical treatment whilst in Mexico, you may be required to pay for the services up front. At the very least, You will be asked to show proof of your ability to pay. This means that prior to any treatment, you would be expected to A, show evidence of your insurance policy, and B, give credit card details. Reimbursement of costs. Even when you do have satisfactory health insurance, it is very difficult to invoke it. Payment is almost always expected up front. For Mexicans and tourists, that is just how the system works. First, you have to pay, and then you are responsible for claiming reimbursement from your own insurance company. Choosing a policy. Make sure you do your homework. There are really two key areas to consider. The first is the level of practical help your insurance company will provide on the ground in Mexico. The second is the level of coverage in your policy and what exactly is included. It goes on to say, check that they have the right infrastructure in place. For example, does your insurance company have a 24/7 toll-free number with English-speaking operators? Do they provide help finding English-speaking medical practitioners? Do they provide help coordinating any care you may need? Have contacts with specific hospitals in the Los Cabos area? If so, which ones? Level of care. Essential that your health insurance plan includes all emergency medical care and medical evacuation. So if necessary, you would have sufficient coverage to get flown home to America. And read the small print. Not all health insurance policies will cover you if you engage in high-risk activities, such as the things that are located in Los Cabos, like diving, rock climbing, etc. And please note, not all policies will cover you for injuries sustained while under the influence of drugs or alcohol. What you think about that, guys? That would be a real problem. It goes on to say, and finally, well, what can we say? We all know that Cabo is full of adrenaline pumping activities and full of bars. Like we said, do your homework, make sure you are covered, and have a great time. It goes on to give a warning to visitors going to the Cabo area. Several hospitals in the Los Cabos area have been heavily criticized in recent years for the excessive medical charges visitors have been forced to pay. In response, the U.S. Consulate in Mexico removed these hospitals from their recommended lists in April of 2016. The list that I just showed you. So it is definitely worth checking these details before you trip. Now, it goes on to say what to do in a medical emergency. Most resorts, which we know Shanquella Robinson and her traveling companions were at a resort. Most resorts have contracts with specific medical service providers. So get the concierge to call a doctor or an ambulance. Well, that is allegedly exactly what happened. Winter Donovan called the concierge for Cabo Villas. Your insurance plan may specify which hospitals you can use. Make sure you have these details. If a medical emergency occurs out with your resort or hotel, call 911 for an ambulance, which Winter Donovan did do. An ambulance will take you to the hospital. You will be charged for this service. Ambulances will try to take you to the hospitals that pay them a commission. So if you have a specific hospital in mind, make sure you know the name of it. Goes on to say Red Cross ambulances are free, but they don't pick up tourists. I found that very interesting, guys. Very interesting. Goes on to give advice from the U.S. Consulate. 3 main pieces of advice. Make sure you have the adequate medical coverage. Join the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program, or STEP, because it enables the U.S. Embassy to trace you in the event of an emergency and to send you regular security updates. Monitor the State Department's website for the latest country-specific information from Mexico. So, I definitely wanted to bring this information to the channel because we learned a lot just from this little piece of information. Now, we knew that Shanquella Robinson had insurance, and we had heard from Miss Salamandra Robinson that they being her traveling companions, were wanting this $5,000 for medical care. From this article alone, that, because a lot of people were like, oh, that's BS, that's BS. No, that really genuinely happens, guys. They do request payment, especially from tourists up front. And then in the article, it says that they want to know that you have the ability to pay. So they want to see a credit card and also your insurance card. What else did we see in here? Yeah, it says show proof of your ability to pay. This means that prior to any treatment, you will be expected to show evidence of your insurance policy and give credit card details. Even when you do have satisfactory health insurance, it's very difficult to invoke it. Payment is almost always expected up front. That is very important. Very important, because when you look at some of the things that were said by these traveling companions, we now know that, hey, that could have very well been the truth. This $5,000 could have very well been the truth. I'm not taking up for them, guys, but I'm simply giving you the facts of what's going on. Trying to get the facts distinguished from opinion and speculation, okay? So we do know that payment is almost always expected up front when you are in an emergency medical situation, all right? First, you have to pay, and then you're responsible for claiming reimbursement on your own with your own insurance company, all right? And then this is also important to note. Not all policies will cover you for injuries sustained while under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Well, not only did, and I'm sorry, but not only did, in my opinion, Winter really do a disservice to Shanquella Robinson by giving this fake, false, BS story over 911 and probably also to the concierge and assumingly also to the doctor. But when they used this BS story of alcohol, that could very well have damaged her insurance policy. I mean, even just getting reimbursement, that could do damage that way financially. So it's frustrating to see the damage that this group of people did to an innocent, unsuspecting person. It just infuriates me. It goes on to give a warning regarding excessive medical charges that visitors have been forced to pay. So we know that these doctors and these hospitals, etc., are charging large amounts of money to tourists specifically. So the $5,000 could very well be a legit story. I just wanted to provide some info on that. And then also explain to you guys how the medical system works down there. Emergency medical, I should say. And I'm not done looking into this. I found some more interesting stuff. I might talk about it on my live tomorrow. But I'm going to end this video on that note. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great night.